Jason, thank you so much for everything. I felt you went above and beyond throughout the whole process. I would be very honored if you would attend my graduation. Invited also is everyone who helped with my case. If you need directions, you know my number. Thanks. Hope to see you soon, Ashley.
As Ashley Kubitz's grateful letter ended one chapter in her life, it began another in the amazing and long-lasting friendship that continues to this day between Jason Abraham, one of Milwaukee's finest personal injury attorneys, and Ashley, then a Whitewater High School senior and star softball pitcher. It all began one dark and rainy night on November 15, 2005, on Highway P in the little town of Richmond, Wisconsin, when Michael Turner, a 50-year-old very drunk driver with a blood alcohol content of double the legal limit, swerved across the highway in his big Ford pickup truck and slammed directly head-on into the 17-year-old Ashley's small little car with catastrophic results. Trapping her legs in excruciating pain in the car, severing her leg artery in her left leg, which deprived it of life-sustaining blood she desperately needed. Ashley clung on courageously while the medics rushed her to the hospital. Her injuries were so severe that the doctors had to amputate her leg halfway from the hip to her knee, and effectively ended her career dreams of being a softball star. Turner was hauled off to jail, and one more tragic alcohol-related drunk driver accident was added to the approximately 630,000 people injured in alcohol-related crashes every year. That's an average of one person injured approximately every minute of every day of every year, year in and year out. About 30,000 people a year will suffer permanent work-related disabilities just like Ashley. Every weekday night from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., 1 in 13 drivers is drunk with a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or more. And between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. on weekday mornings, 1 in 7 drivers are drunk. More Americans have died in alcohol-related traffic crashes than in all the wars the United States has been involved with since the country was founded. Drunk driving is the nation's most frequently committed violent crime. Today, the Insider Exclusive presents the true story and the miraculous courage of Ashley Kubicz, and how Jason Abraham and the law firm of Hupy and Abraham got justice for Ashley and has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best plaintiff trial lawyers in Wisconsin and in the nation. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Hupy and Abraham Law Firm. It's my great pleasure to introduce Jason Abraham. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
This case of Ashley Kubicz is a rather interesting case because you had a young 17-year-old, great student, star softball pitcher, coming home from school. Tell our audience what happened exactly.
You know, it's a real tragedy. It's a young lady, as you talked about, really in the prime of her high school life, getting ready to go on to college and enjoy that aspect of her life, when all of a sudden her life changes as a result of a drunk driver.
And what happened exactly?
Well, she's going after school to get some school shoes, ironically,
Yeah.
and she's driving on a rural highway, and at that time she's confronted with a drunk driver who loses control of his vehicle, goes into her lane, and there's just a catastrophic collision.
Mm-hmm. And he hit her with a rather large truck, and she had a small car, right?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the damage to her vehicle was such that she ended up having to be cut out of the car. Right before the accident happened, she was actually talking to her mom on the cell phone, so her mom actually heard the collision as well.
And the phone was still in operation when the accident happened?
It was. Her mom was on the line, and the phone unfortunately went dead.
Yeah.
And then the mom was frantically trying to call her back at the time.
Now, when they cut her out of the car, because her legs were trapped in there, weren't they?
Yeah, actually one of her legs was trapped. The leg that she ended up losing in this accident, the collision was just so violent that that leg ended up out of the car after the accident, but her right leg was stuck inside the vehicle, and she actually had to be cut out of the car.
So one leg was severed? in the car?
It wasn't severed in the car. It was stuck because
Oh.
the dashboard came
Yes.
in on top of her. But the leg that ultimately had to be removed following the accident was actually outside of the car. The damage was so great, although it was still attached, it ended up being outside the vehicle.
Now, what happened after that?
The ambulance people and fire department took a substantial amount of time to get her out. At the scene of the accident, the other driver at first denied that he had consumed any beverage. She was taken to a local hospital. When they realized that they couldn't treat the severity of her injuries, she was flighted to a more trauma hospital.
Yeah, we're going to have her and her mother on a little later on, but that must have been a traumatic decision, in amputating her leg.
As a parent, when I thought about this myself, this case was near and dear to me because I have a daughter.
Yeah.
And when I read Ashley's impact statement that she sent to the court before the defendant's sentencing, she said that was the first time she ever saw her dad cry when he had to sign his name on the piece of paper to take her leg.
Right. That is really tragic. What happened to the driver?
The driver was charged with substantial injury by intoxicated use of a motor vehicle. He went through the court process, was ultimately found guilty. He pled guilty. He received 3 years in prison and then 5 years of extended supervision after that.
And hopefully he'll stop drinking. Huh?
You hope. In this case, they actually found out that what he was drinking was Listerine. He had to be a serious alcoholic to be getting drunk on Listerine.
In this state, they take your blood alcohol content in any accident, don't they? If they think you've been drinking.
They do.
So it's pretty cut and dry. The guy was, what, 0.15 or something like that?
Yeah, he denied drinking, and then when they put him in the ambulance, the officer could smell what he thought was an intoxicant.
Yeah.
They had him blow into something called a PBT, a preliminary breath test, and that showed a 0.15.
In this particular case, when he was insured?
He was.
Okay. When the insurance isn't enough to cover all of the medical expenses, because the medical expenses were pretty extensive, right?
Yes, they were hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You really take, as I saw before the show, you really take a personal interest in your clients.
Oh, I absolutely do. These aren't just cases, they're clients to me.
Yeah.
Since this accident's happened, I still have contact with Ashley. That's the way I am with a lot of my clients. I invest a lot of emotion in every one of these cases.
At the beginning of this show, we have Ashley reading a letter that she invited you to her graduation because she was about to graduate, and I found it very moving. That's why we started the show with this, because it's something I don't see that often, that relationship between the lawyer and the client. You really care for them.
I really do. And Ashley will always be near and dear to me. Obviously it was a young woman that really in the prime of her life lost her leg as a result of a drunk driver. This drunk driving is an epidemic in our society today. It's something that, means a lot to me. And the fact that she was, very thankful for the services I provided, even though she was entitled to a lot more money that I could get for her.
Yeah.
I was very proud of the fact that she believed I'd gone above and beyond.
Yeah, so the audience knows a little bit more about Ashley since you know her so well, and she's going to be on shortly. Tell us a little bit about Ashley.
She's just a dynamic young woman. What struck me about Ashley when I met her the first time in the hospital following her accident was just her smile. I can tell you, if it was me laying in the hospital after my leg had to be amputated 2 days after this accident, you sure wouldn't see me smiling. And when she still talks to MAD groups right now, she still has a smile on her face. It's infectious. She's always happy. She was a star athlete in softball in high school. She was someone that was ready to take the world by storm, as we all were when we were entering college. And she's someone I'm very proud to have represented. And when I attended her graduation, I was so proud of her that I actually brought my young daughter at the time so she could meet Ashley and see Ashley, because I would talk about her, and she knew that she was an important person in my life, so I wanted my daughter to be able to see, this positive attitude.
Yeah, she's courageous.
She really is courageous.
Yeah, it's great. You talked about a drunk driving epidemic. I think MAD was established when? Back in the 80s?
I believe
80s?
it's the 80s.
And really, there's a lot of people still killed on the road, aren't there?
It's frightening how many times I have to represent people that are injured by drunk drivers. Unfortunately, a number of years ago, one of my employees was killed by a drunk driver. I was asked by the family to testify at that sentencing, and I'm happy to say at that time the judge gave the second stiffest penalty that anyone had received in the state of Wisconsin for drunk driving. this is an issue that's near and dear to me,
Yeah.
not only because of what I've had to go through with an employee, but what I've had to go through on a daily basis with my clients. It's something that's preventable. It's something that shouldn't happen. And I feel compelled to try to make a difference.
Yeah, you know, there have been over the years automakers that have devices in their car that if they smell, you know, if they detect alcohol in the car, it won't start.
Right.
Why hasn't any of this stuff caught on to prevent more alcohol-related deaths and accidents?
Unfortunately, that what you're talking about is ignition interlock.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they only put those in cars when someone becomes like a 3-time offender. And I don't know why people don't do more. I mean, I don't know why after the second or the first offense, we're not taking more stringent measures to prevent drunk driving, because I really do believe it's an epidemic. Unfortunately, we're reading in the papers every day about someone else that's killed, someone on their 5th, 6th, 7th offense. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and more needs to be done to prevent this.
Now, in this case, you settled the case before you went to trial.
We did.
It's unusual that an insurance company will settle a case so quickly. Why do they do in this case?
Well, in this case, they could see the dramatic impact this had on Ashley's life. They had very limited insurance, and they knew that we would take this case the distance.
Yeah.
I mean, we handle these cases every day, all day. We try these cases all the time in court, so they knew we would dot every I and cross every T and make sure Ashley was protected.
Not to sound too promotional about your firm, but if you have a good law firm that has that kind of track record, the insurance companies know that they're really got a fight in their hand, don't they?
Well, we sure hope so. I mean, there's a reason why we take what we think more cases to trial in this state than anyone else, and that is because we want the insurance company to know that we mean business.
Sure.
We're willing to take the case the whole way, and they need to know they better pay us and better pay us quick.
Excellent. We are fortunate to have Ashley and her mother here right now. We're going to bring Ashley on right now. I'm very pleased to have with us today Ashley. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you came here today. I know it was a while back that this accident happened, but if you could take us back to that day. You were coming back from school.
Yep. And I was going to go shoe shopping, and so I had went by myself, and probably a mile past my house, I got hit by a drunk driver.
And it was daytime, nighttime?
Daytime. Well, it was afternoon.
Okay.
So.
And when you saw did you see the truck coming across the double yellow line?
No.
You never saw it?
No, it was around a corner, so you can't really see anything. But
So you just got hit, didn't expect anything.
Exactly.
What were your immediate first thoughts?
Well, when
You were talking to your mom on the cell phone, weren't you?
Yeah, I was talking to my mom, and I had said, like, what the heck? And then the next words I said were, oh my God, and that's all she heard. And that's when I kind of realized that he was coming for me, so I had went into the ditch, and he just kind of hit me when I was in the ditch.
So you saw the truck
at the last minute.
At the last minute and tried to get out of the way.
Yep.
And he ran right directly into you.
Yeah.
And you went in. Then what happened? What do you remember next?
I remember getting woke up by just a bystander and saying that I was in an accident, and I really didn't believe it, but my leg was hurting so bad, and that was about it. So it kind of all hit me at once.
And then, is it right that a ambulance came out there, the Jaws of Life truck or something had to come out and separate you from the car, correct?
They did. There was a bunch of first responders that had to come out. I mean, the damage to her vehicle was so substantial, it required the Jaws of Life to get her out.
While they were working to get, you were conscious at this time.
Yep.
What were your thoughts while they were trying to get you out of that vehicle?
I didn't really know the time passed. I guess I was in there for an hour and 45 minutes, but I actually had a cop that was sitting in my passenger seat with me while they were cutting me out, and I had the sheet over us, and we were just talking like nothing was going on.
What a great guy.
Yeah, definitely good.
So he was just telling you to be calm and that sort of thing. It took
Yep.
45 minutes?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Now you were bleeding extensively.
Yep, from my leg anyway.
So they had put some tourniquet on your leg or something?
I'm not really sure. I know that there was a firefighter. She was a woman. She was holding my leg up.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Then you were rushed to the hospital.
Yep, the first one. And there I was there for, I think, about 2 hours, and said I couldn't do anything for me, and I was actually supposed to be med flight to Madison. Their helicopter was out, so I was taking my ambulance to Madison, where that was the rest of my stay was there.
And that was all within an hour after you got out of the truck, out of your car.
Within a few hours,
Yeah.
correct.
And then you got the news.
It was within a couple days after they
It's-
tried to perform some surgeries
Right.
to save the leg.
Yep.
That then they told her, unfortunately, they weren't going to be able to save the leg.
Yeah. Now you were an athlete at the time. I understand you were a star pitcher for the softball team, correct?
Yep.
So what went through your mind when you knew that they would have to amputate your leg?
I was just kind of more like, it wasn't so much about the sports at that time. It was the way people would see me because, nothing was really like, there was nobody in wheelchairs or anything at my high school. So I was going to be the outcast, and that was basically most of my worries. So,
So you were worried that people wouldn't accept you because you had this tragic accident. Right?
exactly.
But the doctors and your dad told you and your mom told you this had to be done, right?
Yep. It was either get your leg amputated or die. So,
At 17
Yeah.
years old, wow. So you made that decision. And tell us what you're doing with your life now.
I'm in college.
Yeah.
I play wheelchair basketball for UW Whitewater.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you a good player?
I
What
guess.
position do you play?
Oh, well, I'm more of the big guy, the block. So, and I'm 5'1", so I don't really fit it. But
Really?
for my amputation, you got to be big. So.
No kidding. That is terrific. I also understand that this kind of gave you some direction in your life about what you want to do with your life, right?
Yeah, I
What do you-
basically went from wanting to be a physical therapist
Yeah.
now to wanting to be a prosthetic person. They make the legs, artificial legs, limbs, anything.
I understand that Jason said you give some talks now. You're a speaker?
Yep, I
At-
speak for MAD.
Mothers Against Drunk Drivers.
Correct.
Okay. Do you have the occasion of dealing with other young people who have also suffered traumatic injuries?
Well, not so much that have suffered.
Yeah.
I spoke to an area high school by me about drunk driving and prom, and
Yeah.
I also spoke at my campus just as a panel for drunk driving
Yeah.
as well.
I'm just kind of curious, after your accident, when you went back to your high school, nobody was ostracizing you, were they?
No,
They were welcoming you, right?
correct.
That's good. And you graduated how long ago?
It's going to be 4 years next year. So.
That's terrific. Well, listen, I really thank you for coming on here. We're going to have your mom on next, and I admire you
Thank you.
tremendously. I'm very honored to have with us today Ashley's mom, Karen.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Going back to that night, that afternoon, when your daughter was in the accident, you were actually talking to her on the phone, weren't you?
Yes.
Tell us what happened in that conversation.
Well, Ashley had called me. I was just leaving from work, and she wanted to go shoe shopping. And she always calls me around 5 o'clock, tells me that what she's doing, because I was going to my other job. So she
Yeah.
was just catching me up for the day. And all of a sudden, she's just bubbly, and all of a sudden I hear, "Oh my God," and "What the hell?" And that was it. And
So you didn't know at that time.
I didn't know
happened.
what was going on. I must have redialed 100 times. I felt like 100 times, probably about 10 times. Kept redialing her cell phone.
Did you know where she was approximately, physically where she was?
No, I was trying to figure out where she was when I started finding out where the accident was. I just kept calling her because a mother's feeling, just you felt like, oh, something happened.
Yeah.
The second call maybe the third call, I called my husband and said something's wrong. I don't know where Ashley is. I don't know what happened. I just knew something happened.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Ashley said that she had to tell a gentleman to answer her phone because it was in the back seat
So the
someplace.
phone was ringing.
Kept ringing because I kept calling because I knew something was wrong.
And somebody, a stranger,
Right.
answered it.
Yeah. And he says, well, she's in an accident. He says, yeah, I know that. I just had that feeling already that something went wrong. I didn't know what was going on. I'm 45 minutes away from anywhere she would have been, 45 to an hour, and I didn't know where she was.
But did they tell you where the accident was?
No.
They
No,
wouldn't tell you?
no, we didn't know. We
Yeah.
had no clue. My husband was calling the sheriff's department trying to figure out
Yeah.
what county she was in because we're really Jefferson and Walworth and Rock County, all in that area.
Yeah.
And we didn't know which way she went to, wherever she was going. We figured she was going to Janesville. And he kept calling around, and he found the police department, and they sent him to Whitewater, which is our home.
Yes.
And she was only a couple, maybe less than a mile from our house.
How long did it take for you to go see her, find out where she was to go see her?
I met her at the hospital.
You did?
Yeah, they finally told me which hospital.
They didn't tell you what had happened yet?
No. I just know she was in a car accident. I just knew that something was wrong. And I met them at Ford's. I was like a half hour early than she was, and this had happened around 5 o'clock, and I was at Fort Atkinson at 6, and I'm waiting for her, and I don't know where she was.
Yes.
When I got there, I told them that she was coming. And
So when you got to the hospital, what did the doctor say to you?
not much.
No.
No, it's a small town. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a small hospital. I just more or less just had her, just kind of told her about her, because she wasn't talking or anything.
Yeah.
My husband was trying to come there too, and it was just, I didn't know what was wrong. But when my husband and his friends, my husband and my son and his friends came in the hospital, they looked at me, and I'm looking at them like, don't say anything, because I knew at that point that they knew that something was wrong with her legs and that.
And then she was medevac to Madison, was it?
No, the Fight for Life was already taken. There was another accident that happened in the same area as us, and then they took her in an ambulance to Madison.
Madison. Okay.
Yes, and it was about 9 o'clock, I think it was. And we've never been in Madison,
Yeah.
so they had to give us a map to show us how to get there.
Right.
And I think first time we all got to start talking to her was like midnight.
Right. A couple of days later, then the doctors told you they would have to amputate her leg to save her life, basically.
Well, they were telling us at that night that they were telling us already that there's something definitely wrong with the leg, and she had a broken leg on her good leg, and then they knew something was wrong with the knee and what was going on. So they were just repairing it, trying to get it stable. And then they started telling us about the amputation, that we have to probably make a choice. It was life or death, because she would have had so much complications in that.
That is probably one of the worst situations a parent can ever face.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was a nightmare. I mean, we've never had anything major tragically happen.
Your daughter has recovered, and she is going to school now.
Yes.
How has your opinion changed with the courage that you've seen demonstrated by your daughter in all of this?
My husband and I keep talking, I don't think we could have went through what she did. I mean, she kind of put us all back together. You know, we fell apart, and she put us all back together, just, through everything that was happening. And she's really a good advocate about talking about, drunk driving. And, she was just, on the road at the wrong time.
Yeah. You see a lot of drunk drivers on the road still.
Yes.
Young people, old people, a lot of them getting killed and maimed. What do you have to say to our state legislator, the Wisconsin state legislature, to change the laws to make them tougher so these things don't happen again?
I think the first offense should be the toughest. I really think that if they don't do it the first time, really show them that, there is something out there that, what kind of life they've changed people.
Yes.
It's like, I think by the 5th, 6th that they're finally doing.
Yeah.
He had three convictions already.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Wow.
And that's, just little things. Everyone knew him in town, what he had done, but.
Yeah. That is, you brought this up before, Jason, about the first time is not a criminal conviction. It's just like a parking ticket.
It is, and actually the way the law used to be, even the second time could be that if it was outside of 10 years. So let's say someone had one in the 80s and didn't get another one until the mid-90s.
Yeah.
That second one would still be like getting a speeding ticket, because if it wasn't within the 10 years, the second one wouldn't be considered a crime.
I'm just curious, does this state have a higher alcohol-related casualties and deaths than any other state in the country?
Per
capita?
I don't think so. I don't know. I haven't
Yeah.
really done the research.
Yeah.
It's clear, though, that these states' laws are some of the most lenient in the country. And you look at the kind of tragedies that we have to read about every day.
Yeah.
It's time to make a difference. It's time to take a stand.
Yes.
And this state really needs to have more serious laws to protect its citizens from drunk drivers.
Yeah. Well, you went through one heck of an experience, and I'm very honored to meet you. I'm glad you came on the show, and I'm very proud of your daughter. And thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you.
Jason, I can't tell you how pleased I am when I see clients like this come in here, and basically they're so honest, so forthcoming about their feelings towards what you did for them, and these terrible laws you have in the state of Wisconsin need to be changed. When you have cases, and you handle a lot of cases like this, when you have cases brought to you, when do you look to settle a case versus taking it full, right to trial? What is your criteria?
First of all, with respect to these clients, I feel compelled to say, these are people I will never forget. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish all my clients were as forthright and honest and hardworking and just as good a people as these people are, and they're people I will never forget. With respect to trial versus settlement, the first thing to look at is what is a reasonable range if you win the case, and what is a range if you lose the case. Then you kind of look at that range, factor in the settlement offer, and see if it takes the risk out of the case for your client. I mean, you always have to be ready to go to trial,
Yeah.
but you always want to make sure that you maximize the benefit for your client. So it's
Sure.
kind of a risk-benefit analysis.
Well, thanks to you and your firm, you got a settlement, the maximum that you could get, and their life is on track again. And I want to thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at www.insiderexclusive.tv.